Hi, this is Jacqueline here with the Grow Program. Thank you for growing with me on today. Oh man, I am so thankful and so grateful to the Lord and the beloved ancestors. Um, wow, we have gained our 37th country, that is Panama. We are growing in Panama, and I'm so grateful to God and so grateful to the freedom fighters and the beloved ancestors who pushed love. They pushed love and they told us love. They sang about love in the songs. All of them. They sang about love. They talked about love. Love drives out hate. Love will conquer if you just believe. And we are growing in love, which is God. God commands us to love. That's the one thing. It don't matter what your denomination is. It don't matter what your denomination is. God commands you to love. And also, no matter what your denomination is, you either do good or you do wrong. You have to make a choice, because it comes a time in your life when you become a legend. You're in this world, but you're not of this world. You're transformed by a renewing of your mind, a better way of thinking, a better way of living, a better way of acting, all of it together. Just doing better. When you know better, you do better. Because God has one word that he's very serious about, and that's accountability. We're going to give an account, honey. Because one thing I told you, my mama always said, every tub got to sit on its own bottom. See, you can sit up there and worry about so-and-so and what they doing, but so-and-so got to give an account to themselves. You need to worry about you. Sweep around your own doorstep. Start worrying about you and looking out for you and seeing about you. Because once we really devote that time to ourselves, we'll see how we can really begin to reach our greatness. We really will begin to overcome and rise. We really will. And let me tell you, I got to see. I'm used to, when I do the podcast, I'm used to complete silence. I'm used to that. Even with my children, they know it's time to be quiet. But now I will tell you, I in this house. This house is older than the other house. This house is 1895. And but it's light, it's beautiful, it's light all in this house. But one thing that you may hear is these pipes clanking, honey, and they doing it now. I'm telling you, they clank when and I don't know, maybe I'm making record upstairs or something. I don't know, because they clank. And the owner, she didn't even know that they clank like that. She jumped and said, well, they shouldn't be doing that, but it clanked like somebody is hitting them with a pipe. But I'm used to it. Don't bother me. I told you, things like that don't bother me anymore. It would have been a time where I would told her no thank you and kept on looking. But this right here, honey, I love this little place. It's beautiful. And it's just so peaceful. Not to have to listen to nobody hollering and screaming. And then on top of that, I don't even want to dwell on the evil. I want to focus on us growing in God. I want to focus on us overcoming. I want to focus on us beginning to changing our minds and changing our hearts and growing in God and forgiving one another. Let go of all that old stuff, them old hurts and grudges, that you've been holding on to for years. Let that stuff go. Give it over to God, and then begin to move forth and go forth in the Lord, with forgiveness in your heart and a pure heart. Because see, that's how you begin to get blessed. That's how God began to move in your life. The wind began to change direction. Stuff began to switch up and change up, and you begin to do some things a little bit different. I'm telling you, we got some work to do, but we doing it. We are overcoming. We are rising. Here we are in Panama. We are in some beautiful places. I see you growing down in Orlando. I spent 3 years in Orlando, 3 wonderful years in Orlando. And It's it was a wonderful experience being there during that time back in the 80s. And the 80s was a time, boy, it was a time. Big hair, uh, um, coming out of disco, and some good music. Good music. But anyway, I'm gonna tell you, forgiveness. It's a hard thing to forgive. It is. It's a hard thing to forgive. But you have to, because if you don't forgive, that'll hold you back from your greatness. Um, it'll hinder you. It will hinder you because God forgave you. So you have to forgive also. Just like the word said, forgive us our trespasses. And God also says that we are Romans 8:37, more than a conqueror in God who loved us, who created us, who made us, who loved us. And he still loves us. But we have to believe that we are a conqueror. We have to come to a point that we are ready to become a legend. And you got to remember, all legends ain't famous. So you can't just get to a point in life where say, well, I ain't gonna never make what I want to be. You got to keep striving forth in God, because you don't know what kind of blessing God got around the corner for you, as long as you keep pressing toward the mark of the high calling of God, because God said, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you. So you have got to seek God first with forgiveness in your heart, towards one another, and begin to start doing better. Ain't nobody expecting you just do miracles. And then on top of that, we're spiritual people. We don't live under man. We live under God, and we live under God's expectations of us, not man's expectations. So we are not being a spiritual being. We are not to be controlled, under money and tithing and how to live, how to dress, how to act. You be you, but be the best you. Be the best you can. Strive to be your greatness. Hold your head up. Stop watching that trial, because that trial is depressing. It's beginning to, it's the oppression is trauma. Seeing things, because we can't get the images out of our heads. We see these images day after day. I see the images all the way back. I see the images from slavery. I get visions of that. So I have put the evil. I don't need to watch no more news, really. Not to, to dwell on the evil. No, to look and see where the country is headed, where we headed positively. I want to meditate on the positive, on the good. Because see, we know that the evil is out there doing. We know that. And we don't have to focus on the evil. Yes, be aware of it, but don't focus on it. Don't dwell on it, because once you dwell on it, then there it go begin to pull you on back down in the midst of it. And you don't want to be nowhere near that. You want to lock the evil out like you lock the burglars out. You want to just put up all kind of traps where it can't come in. Because I'm telling you something, it's putting up some traps so you can get in, so you can get sucked in, so you can fall, and fall for the traps and the setups. I'm telling you, this country, I ain't never seen this country. It's when it comes to Africans, it just can do better. I'm gonna tell you, you got to call it like it is. You can't sugarcoat nothing here when it comes to United States and a lot of the world, and it comes to Africans. We just have to do better as a people and begin to know where we came from, so we can start correcting things and doing better. I applaud the Major League Baseball for removing themselves out the chaos, negativity, and drama that Brian Kempton got going on down there in Georgia. So yes, they have removed the baseball because baseball is supposed to be a good time. Who gonna have a good time in the midst of racism, in the midst of hatred? Who wants to be down there in the midst of that foolishness? They don't. Them baseball players don't want to be down there in the midst of that. We trying to move forward as a country. We ain't trying to take no steps backwards. The voters done already said what they wanted this last election. So Brian Kemp, while you trying to turn the country around and take it back to its old racist ways and stand in front of the plantation taking a picture, that ain't impressing nobody. Africans have touched too many lives. You might fool around and have some African grandbabies. So you need to stop being hateful towards people and start being better. Start realizing that this we are one country under God. United States is a melting pot made up a whole bunch of different people. Immigrants came from everywhere. Immigrants here who were brought here, who didn't want to be here, who's over there minding their own business and were kidnapped, brought over here, Brian Kemp. So now we got to start making things a little bit better for those folks. See, down there in Atlanta, you got a lot of people down there who looking at you. See, now you can get ready to lose. You gonna lose the African vote. You coming up out of there in 2 years. You ain't finna stay down there. All y'all little Republican tricks and different things y'all did under Donald Trump, they ain't finna go on no more. See, it's a new sheriff in town. And this man is serious. He already said that this foolishness is not going on while y'all sitting there laughing and high-fiving behind closed doors and doing all kind of evilness. You ain't getting away with nothing. I don't understand a cold, evil heart like that. I just don't get it. You don't want to go back to Jim Crow ways and go back to when people can't vote and people can't have a voice in this democracy to be able to say what they want and what they want to have. Leading them going forth in this country. The people spoke and Joe Biden is the president. The people have spoken. And that's how it works, and when Al Gore and George Bush were running together, Al Gore, the people spoke, and really, Al Gore really won the election, but he did the right thing and gave it, instead of fighting back and forth, he went ahead and gave it to George Bush. And that was the godly right thing to do, and instead of dragging the country through all of this. We need to begin to come together in love. We really do. I'm going to tell you, I really don't even want to get all off into politics. I really don't, because I see where we're headed as a country. We're on the right path. We really are. We're on the right path. We got an administration that is made up of people who look like this country, who actually look like this country. And so we have got to rise. We have got to begin to do better. We really do. And I'm going to tell you something. Now, that the clanking. So that's, I have a come and look at, because see, I am used to the peace and quiet when I do the podcast. I do need quiet. And because I need to be able to meditate and I need to be able to hear and focus. So I'll be probably doing podcast sometimes outside or sometimes upstairs, or I haven't figured out where I'm going to put my studio in here. I don't know how I'm going to have it set up, but I'm going to have it set up real nice. And because I got a little office space and everything, I can work from home and do all of that. God has blessed me. God has brought me through the storm. And I'm telling you, honey, I have a testimony. I have a testimony of how he has carried me through in spite of people who tried to destroy me, people who tried to see me see me down. Matter of fact, he said that's what I was gonna be. I was gonna be down. And I'll never forget some haunting words that he said that I thought of today, when he told me he ran into his ex and he said she looks horrible, like she just gave up. And now those words are so haunting to me, because I that's what he said he wanted me to do, to just be destroyed. And I'm not going to be anything but just just horrible stuff that he said. And so I'm working through it. I'm working through it. And I'm gonna work through these pipes clanking too, and just keep on pressing on. Cause honey, I'm gonna tell you something. I'm a sound sleeper. The pipes clanking don't wake me up, don't bother me when I'm sleeping. I sleep right through it. It does not bother me. And they be clanking through the night. So I don't know what that is. I think it's something to do with some water pressure or something in there. I don't know. But she says she's gonna look at it. But anyway, the reason I mention it is because you hear it in the podcast, and I heard it the other night, yesterday, when I recorded. And so I want you to know what that is. And greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world anyway. That's anywhere I go. I'm going to tell you something. I'm more afraid of the people walking on the earth than of these spirits, like I used to be. It used to be the other way around. But I'm more afraid of the people walking the earth, because it's evil that's going through people. See, these spirits can only do so much. And they want to tell their story. That's really what they want to do. But it's the evil that's going through folks that you really got to be aware of. You really got to be, watchful of, not afraid of, because God don't give us a sense of fear. He give us a sense of power. But what you got to do is remove yourself out that situation. Don't be involved in that. So, upcoming, it's going to be some more podcasts. I'm going to be doing, maybe a couple more a day, just for a little bit, and just kind of, talk on some things, of the Lord, and some testimonies. And, because my whole entire life is a testimony, and how I overcame. Because it was one thing right after another after another. That's why I tell you, be careful who you tell your stuff to. Matter of fact, tell it to God. Because see, God ain't going to tell nobody. And stop telling your business. When the teacher gave you a problem in school, she said, solve it. We are conquerors. We solve our problem. That's what the ancient kings and queens did back then. They solved their problem. They took it to God and they solved their problems. And God worked it out, just like he working it out now. He is working it out. He is blessing this movement. This movement is propelling forward. It really is. I look back over all the episodes. I look back over all how we started. I love you, France. I love you, Germany. I love you, United Kingdom. I love you everywhere. I do. Indiana, India. I can think of a whole lot of places, and give a whole lot of shout outs. But one thing I do want you to know is remember this. Nothing defeats royalty. Mind over anything. Mind over anything. Romans 8:37. Read that and believe that. Greatness reached over oppression through wisdom all over the world. I love you. Let's rise.